Hello everybody, my name is Ridwan Shakib. You are watching our German for Free channel, through which we try to discuss or to figure out some grammatical issues that we have in German language. And today's video will talk a little bit about the different classes or parts of speech that we have in the German sentence, with the sense that we'll try to go deeper and to simplify different classes or categories of words that we use when we speak German. And it can help the beginners to understand the German sentence, and later it can be useful for many people just to analyze it, and to analyze it linguistically, and thus you can understand every single sentence. I hope that you will enjoy this video, and let's get started. Hi again. So, generally speaking, we can talk about 10 parts of speech that we have within the German sentence. With this sentence, we'll try just to talk a little bit about it briefly without giving more details and examples. And I promise you that I will prepare some other videos in order to talk about it with some examples and details in order to make it more clearer and clearer. Let's get started with the first part. So the first part we'll start with here is the article. The articles in German language is very important, because according to my own experience learning and teaching German to the foreigners, so I can say that this is the most important part in German, because if you don't know the article of every single word in sentence that you use within your sentences, so you cannot use it correctly. As we know that we have different grammatical cases in German language, because we have dative, accusative, nominative, and genitive. If you don't know the article of the used word, you cannot use it correctly, because the articles of the nominative case will be changed to other forms in nominative, or in accusative, or in dative or genitive. And that's why you have to learn every single word of any single article, or any article of any single word, in order to use it correctly with the time. This is one of the most grammatical obstacles in German language, because if you don't understand it, or if you don't know the article of any word, you cannot use it correctly, as I have mentioned before. Take it please into consideration. Let's move to the second part. Okay, let's move to the second part of this video. So after talking a little bit about the German articles, so we talk now about the German nouns. German nouns can be classified or categorized according to three criteria: gender, number, and case. So with gender we mean here so masculine or feminine, or neutral. So with number we mean singular or plural, and with casus we mean here nominative or dative or accusative or genitive, and so on and so on. That's why you have to know in which case we have within German sentence in order to use it correctly. Let's move to the next one. So let's move to the third point. So after talking a little bit about the nouns in German language, so we move now to talk a little bit about the pronouns, or the so-called pronomen in German. So pronouns are words that are used to replace nouns in the case of subject or object, and so on and so on. So generally speaking, we can talk about seven kinds or categories of pronouns. We have, for example, possessive pronoun, relative pronoun, personal pronoun, Fragepronoun, and so on and so on. But as an advice, so for you as beginners, so at least you have to master or to learn the personal pronoun and possessive pronoun. It will help you starting speaking German and starting building sentences. Let's move to the next point. So let's move to the next point, as I have mentioned before. So talking about German sentence, to talk a little bit about German sentence, we cannot forget talking a little bit about the verbs, or the classes of verbs that we have within the German sentence. In German we have different classes of verbs. We have trennbare Verben, untrennbare Verben, regelmäßige Verben, unregelmäßige Verben, reflexive Verben, modal Verben. These kinds of verbs are very important to be understood, because in order to use it correctly within the sentence. As I have mentioned before, that I will try just to provide more examples and details in order to talk a little bit about it in the future. Let's move to the next point. So one of the most important parts in German language are prepositions. Prepositions are words that refers to places or time, and so on and so on. And generally speaking, the prepositions in German language are very important to be understood or to be used, because through which we can define which case we have in German language. We have, for example, prepositions that we use with dative, and we have prepositions that we have used to use with accusative, and we have fixed preposition that we have to use with either with dative or accusative according to the situation that we have. If we have an action, we use it with accusative. If we don't have an action, or we have just stated, we use it with dative. Because the use of the prepositions is very important in German language. You have to have it in your head, or to stick it in your head in order to understand it or to use it correctly with the time. Okay, let's move to the next point. The adjectives are words that describes the subject or the object within the German sentence. That's why you have to understand the linguistic nature of the adjectives that we have, because it can be influenced by the use of the nouns, or by the grammatical case that we have within German sentence, because it can be changed, or it can have different endings if you use it within different grammatical cases. That's why you have to use it. You have to use it correctly within the German sentence. Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about the adverbs in German language. So we have, as I have mentioned before, adjective that describes the nouns or personal pronoun or situations, but we have also adverbs that describe the verb or the action within the German sentence. That we have different types or classes of adverbs. We have, for example, adverbs of time, of place, and other kinds of adverbs. That's why you have to use it correctly within the German sentence when you are speaking. And now let's talk a little bit about conjunctions, or the so-called Konjunktionen in German. Conjunctions are words that connect or relate to at least two words or two sentences in German language. That's why you have to know which conjunctions that we have to use, because it can have a great influence on the structure of the sentence. Because if you use certain conjunctions, you have to put the verb at the very end of the sentence, and we have, of course, other kind of classes of conjunctions that we use without having any effect. For example, and, oder, und a. So the last two part of speech that about which we will talk is the Injunctionen, and Numerale. So Injunctionen means that are words that that the German people use when they speak with each other. They are not grammatically correct, but these are used when they speak. And numeral or numale. These are words that has something to do with numbers. For example, 2 or 3 men, 3 Männer, 2 Männer, and so on and so on. Okay, these 10. So I think I have summarized now the use of different parts of speech that we have within German sentence, and I hope that you have enjoyed this video. Before I stop this video, I would just talk a little bit or discuss with you the following example, as you will see. Okay.